You're about to listen to an archived episode that happened on the 7th of June 2020, the day Black Lives Matter protesters in the UK pulled down a statue of the slave trader Edward Colston in Bristol.
What's currently going on is obviously everyone is sharing it, etc. People, social media, everywhere you look, people are talking about George Floyd, police brutality, etc. But the problem is, how do you get the point across to people who are either ignorant or don't use those forms of social media? Because, for example, you look on the news, or you're looking on like news websites, or you look on like newspapers, and the way they report stuff is so different to what we're seeing on social media. Like, we're seeing, police beating people and tear gassing people for no reason. Whereas you look on the news and it's like, oh, these violent protesters and So it's kind of like how during, like, say, our elections, you go on Twitter, Facebook, etc. Everyone's a Labour supporter, like literally everybody. Everyone's like, Conservatives are so bad. Obviously, you get them Brexit guys with the Union Jack flags on Twitter. Like, obviously, them guys are obviously Tory. But then you look through, and then you look at the poll results, and then you look at the actual results, and you're like, fuck, this is kind of mad. Like, it doesn't measure up. So how do you get through to those people who aren't either swayed by social media or don't use social media, because it's not a true representation of the whole of, I guess, America and Britain, for example?
I feel like, because I was thinking this like the other day. I think a lot of the protests need to happen in these like white areas. Like, we're protesting in like Parliament and Embassy, which is where we really should have been like protesting from time. But we should also be doing it in the most white areas outside of London, innit? To be like, because if we actually want to because that would be more of a statement. They're just out there and they see a bag of black people just walking down the street, shutting down the road. They would be like, what's going on? That type of stuff. And even then, it's like, there's a point where it's like, you know what? First of all, we shouldn't even have to be convincing people. Yeah. Because the point is mad obvious. And even then, it should be up to the individual, to the other white, to the white people who know.
As well, on that point, like, like when you see people complain about rioting and looting and stuff, and they'll say, why are they doing this in their own neighborhoods? And that's right. Like, I'm not saying to go loot and riot in these other, like, say, white neighborhoods, but that's where you should be protesting, because that's the people you're looking to appeal to change minds and, get, I guess, laws progressed, etc.
So, my theory on why it's not as widespread is because the news actually, it's very regional. Like, for example, outside of America, and even in America, in a lot of places, like, you wouldn't, like, if you mention Rodney King, like, a lot of people would just be like, Rodney who? Like, where it happens, there's a concentration of that news. So in LA and wherever, like New York, like your big sort of markets, people know about what's going on, right? Because they get the same news, and then they spread it to those people. And it's a lot more populated, like, the population is a lot more dense in those places. But you go out to, I don't know, some place in Missouri, or you go to Brighton and say Rodney King, like, no one knows who you're talking about. And so I think, like, it needs to be a lot more widespread. And like, how you get it widespread, weirdly enough, is the social media stuff. Now, places where, like, say, Surrey, I'm just going to use that as an example, where you have, like, middle-aged people who are not necessarily on social media, they're relying on the actual, like, local news or whatever else. Now, the trick is get them to put it out. What's the incentive for them to put it out if it doesn't concern the people they're talking to?
But do you really think that people don't know at this point? Or are they just being... Or are they just using that excuse that people have used for so long?
I think, and if you look at the demographic of people actually protesting, it's really young. Like, the demographic of a really young audience. they're the ones who are social media savvy. They know, they see it. Why it's taking them this long, I don't know. But they've seen it.
I'm not even on the young, because the young ones are the young ones, isn't it? Because they know internet, blah, blah.
Exactly. Your question was like, do they really know? Like with the older ones, I think a lot of them like. It depends on the region you're talking. If you're talking to me about like some region somewhere in the like middle of England somewhere, I genuinely would question whether or not they know, based on how they receive information. But
if you ask them about Thatcher and what happened during them times and the disparity between the north and south, they know that. If you ask the Irish about how and the Scottish,
but again, you're talking about stuff that concerns them.
No, but this concerns everyone.
Exactly.
Why do I know? I'm in England.
Yeah, but
I shouldn't know that.
No, but this is my point. You're in a center where information is a lot more readily available. Like and with the demographic in London, you're talking like loads of young people. Like that's what I'm saying. Like your sort of average middle-aged people, they're just like, I'm going to my work, I speak to my local farmer shop or whoever I'm speaking to, and that's closed. I'm not saying that's everyone or that's a legit reason. I'm just saying like it's probably bigger, like the amount of people who just don't know than we think. Whether or not that's enough to actually affect change, that's a different one.
I think I don't know half on it, but it's not as in they don't know about like specific cases of police brutality.
Yeah, like it's not that. It's like they're not exposed to how bad it is.
But not even. I'm more talking about throughout the years in terms of from then.
Like how they acknowledged.
Like from when they were young.
Yeah.
Because the way even if they didn't see no black people or whatever, they definitely were taught a different way in England.
Yeah.
About how black people were blah blah blah. So it's like, okay, through your 20s, blah blah blah, that should be the time where you should know whatever.
Yeah.
After that, it's like, how do you just carry on going through life?
It's like willful ignorance. You actively avoid like
and actively avoiding means that you
obviously that's terrible.
It means that you know.
Exactly, that's
and it means that you're actually on that side and you're part of the problem. So it's like you can't convince them if they already know.
Yeah.
So it's like,
you
because if they now do that and then they go, oh yeah, damn, this is all bad, then you need to keep that energy up for the whole.
But I think a lot of it is like just selfish. Like if you're telling someone who's not really affected by something, oh, this is a problem, cool. Like does it affect me? No, cool. I go about my day. No. That's obviously terrible. No. But like I go about my day. Like in my mind, there's no incentive for me to like discomfort myself for something that doesn't affect me, and gives me like there's a risk of me losing shit.
No, but this is racism.
Exactly, but again, like if there's no personal stake involved, it's hard to convince people to go outside of that. Morals aside.
No, but you can't have morals aside with this. Though.
Wait, so for example, you know, like how people on say social media or just sort of anywhere will talk to us about what's currently going on in say Palestine or what's currently going on in Syria. They could make the same argument. Do you guys keep this energy when we're telling them? Or telling us their problems and what's going on in those countries, and
free Palestine every time.
Yeah, but obviously not everyone will think like that. Innit?
Yeah.
Like if it doesn't, I guess.
And there were even Black Lives Matter protests in Palestine.
Because
there are black people in Palestine.
Yeah, but so another one like how about this for comparison? So you know how you always get like these like images of like African children starving, like donate, blah 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 blah, like. Compare it to that, where starvation in Africa is actually a real thing in certain regions, but like there's an apathy to that now. It's like you see it, you recognize it's bad, and it's there, but then basically, I saw this in like a old British comedy. It's like we offer them every support short of help, and that's what I like. That's what I think is usually the case.
It's the same. Okay, to bring it back here. It's the same mindset that you use when you just pass a homeless guy on the street.
Exactly. Like that's what I think the mindset is.
But passing a homeless guy on the street is not the same as being as ignoring police brutality and not even just police racism in that fact. Because it's not you can't have one without the other in this case.
Yeah.
So it's like if you acknowledge the racism and then it's like, all right, cool. And then you'd be like, okay, yeah, the police are a bit, not even a bit, they're way too harsh on black people compared to But and especially when people want to use statistics and then they want to completely forget that we're like less than 15% in this country. So it's like
that's the thing that angers me because like they'll pull up like, oh, white people are like just as likely, or if not more, because of the numbers. But like, look at the proportions. That's the thing.
I think you have a right to be angry because one is intrinsic. You're black. You're born black, and the other one where you're homeless, in most cases probably is your fault or a situation you could have got yourself out of, but you can't get out of your skin. You can't become unblack unless you die. But you can't change your heritage.
Even though when you have kids, it's like it's not sure. So.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But you could say some people being homeless is still a failure of the system, like in the same way that
because it's even shown because when the pandemic happened, they were like, "Oh, we have to house all the homeless."
yeah, and they're in hotels and stuff chilling now.
So it's like you can't now because now do you know what I mean? Because now what you have to do is like,
hotels chilling.
you have to now help them properly because most of them probably like addiction.
But I mean, you can blame the system. Of course you can, because the system does fail those who are homeless. But I think Michael Jordan said it best. If a homeless guy can say, "Can I have some money?" you can also say, "Hello, welcome to McDonald's."
Nah. That's the type.
That's
of
where
energy.
Michael Jordan's a bit tapped.
Yeah, that's the type of energy where people are like, "Oh, yeah, Michael Jordan was a prick in it," because it's like, especially when, as you know,
Insensitive as it is.
No, it's not even insensitive.
No,
It's wrong.
that's
It's
wrong.
wrong. Because addiction, there's a lot of, you get kicked out of the house. We know people from where we went who got kicked out at 16 and they just had to do what they had to do.
Yeah.
Not everyone has someone who they
Plus, you have to think, if that homeless person can say, "Yes, I can say hello, welcome to McDonald's," but someone has employment to do that. And two people walk in your office, someone who's like moderately put together and someone who's coming off the street, say, apply for the same job, who are you more likely to give?
Of course, you choose the one who's not homeless.
And
However,
so he ends up back in the
A
situation.
lot of them don't even want to go to the shelters because they'll get robbed because of the other homeless people.
Yeah.
So it's like, there really isn't that benefit because you have to treat it at the root of the mental. So it's like,
Exactly.
because no one's choosing to be homeless.
yeah, it's definitely not black and white. For sure.
Nah.
Not more.
So essentially, what we're saying is the government could, quote unquote, solve homelessness or do something about it, but
Definitely.
they don't.
They should 100%.
Definitely, like,
Yeah.
basically,
Similar
like,
to, I guess, to
the whole
this.
thing is, so, like, and again, if you ask a typical politician, what I've noticed anyway is, what I think people need to do, or the world needs to do, is rethink, like, how, like, the actual system, so to speak, works. Because every system, everywhere in the world, is one, like, they're basically variations of the same thing. Like, you've got the same kind of setups. We need to rethink what we're measuring, how, like, the programs we have in place. So it's your capitalism against like socialism debate. And so if you're saying that kind of thing, it won't make the government more money. It won't increase your GPA, your what do you call it? GDP. If you're like investing in a lot of healthcare stuff, because like a nurse is taking care of an elderly person, like basically counts for zero as far as GDP is concerned. But that work is valuable. This is what like Andrew Yang was saying when he was running for presidency. He was like, yes, but the government's not going to obviously do that. They're not going to support that. Like, they'll do whatever it takes to get GDP up. But then actual people are suffering.
But that's the whole, like, issue. It's like...
Exactly.
If you're... Obviously, business is business. But...
It needs to be balanced
Once you're... Not even. It's like... But because you already know you're going to make money. It's not that you're not going to make money if you help these people.
Yeah.
Like, you know if something dramatic happens, you know how to shift your business. You know how to...
Exactly.
After when this corona happened, you know how to shift your business. So it's like, okay, now there's homeless people, and also it's just because you donate a little bit to charity doesn't necessarily mean you're helping in that sense. Because
exactly.
At the end of the day, it's about the person
who runs the charity.
So it's like, I mean,
that's what we need. Governments just need to rethink how like the standards of measurement for like quality of life, as opposed to like some arbitrary number that tells you how much people are earning. Because like that's the root problem, I think. But then you ask a typical politician, they're going to tell you, like they're going to start screaming, or you saying we can't, like they're going to scream the whole capitalism and you want us to become a socialist country, blah 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 blah. Whether or not that's good, and people get lost in that debate. There, like if you want to get politics to like just go into nothingness and disperse, capitalism, socialism.
I mean, it's just I mean, from my recent readings. it's come to my.
You got to state the books now.
I think it was called
Hashtag reference.
You know, it was on
Wikipedia.org.
How was reference? It was on
stealing credits.
It was on what's it? It was on Malcolm X, Marcus Garvey, and Patrice Lumumba, and he was talking about how I think Marcus Garvey, all three of them basically were talking about how both systems are basically white systems. So it's like obviously capitalism is capitalism. But when socialism, whatever, that side, it was when it was the Russians who done it, like that, that side, and it's never helped like our region because it's always been white focused, regardless of how whatever iteration it's been, whatever country, whatever So it's like there really has to be, and their struggle between the three of them was that they didn't have they didn't have the ideology to unite the whole. Well, Malcolm X had the real problem of not having the ideology to unite all black people and around the world because that's the nail on the head. Because before, obviously, when Marcus Garvey done his thing, he could only go so far. He couldn't even get to Africa. Yeah, like when he got to, I think he got to Europe, and then like bear fuckery happened, and then he just got snaked and blah blah blah. And then Patrice Lumumba, he was the only one who got actual independence, Congo. So and then once all that happened, trying to get aid from all the other African countries, but then he found out they were all European backed, all thingy backed. So it's like, and then Malcolm X obviously had his whole problem because had this whole thing, and it moved from the Nation of Islam, and then obviously after that they tried to say he lost credibility because he wasn't on having our own country, like our own section of their own section of America, like their own thing. So obviously he was struggling to find that balance of still having that view, but also because if we have that view, we're also technically integrated into the system. He was against. It was like what's it called? Assimilation and like full out national separatist type thing.
Segregation.
So, do you want to have the ability to do what you can, or do you just want to have leverage within that system? But in that system, you already know how it moves. So it's like it's just another form of assimilation, but just economically. In that sense.
I get what you're saying is exactly right. But
what do you think, Anthony?
Yeah.
What do you think?
I feel like things like that get annexed really quickly. Like once someone tries to build up momentum for like a specific group of people, it just gets like people start insurgents, people start mutinies or coups. Like all these countries like Libya, apparently Mohammed Gaddafi was trying to start up like a whole African currency. And because of how much, like if Africa as a whole continent just decides like we're not going to start selling oil to China or to Europe, or everyone starts pillaging us. Once that happens, like everything starts collapsing, the value of the dollar or pound or yen or everything else just collapses. And you just get so much more power out of that. But you can't have a place like Africa being independent because there's so much more financial motive for for the people who are monopolizing the wealth from them.
No, go on.
So I feel like for us to be established, especially in white-dominated countries, it's something that has to be done like unilaterally with like all the white people, Asian people, all the like brain minority has to come together because we, as much as we want this, we know we can't do this without like support of other white people, especially in high places, because we won't be able to, as much as we, like as a black community, there's not enough people who actually show up to like institute to cause change, like not enough people to show up to vote, not enough people like get involved in elections, and a lot of that, especially in America, can be due to people intentionally suppressing the vote of minorities. But there's also a lot of ignorance that we play a part in not deciding on political. Exactly. And in places like America, if you have like a record, you can't vote. And if a majority of the people that make up the prison systems are black.
The black ones,
If you don't have if they don't offer you the right to vote, it's just you won't have enough. You won't have a voice. So if they just mute you by if they lock you up, you have a criminal record, you can't vote. It's just a way for them to suppress you even more. So I feel like for us to be independent, we need to definitely integrate. I wouldn't say we can do full separatism, because I don't think they'll ever. We're not in a position of power for them to.
So what you're saying is, and I agree, is, and this is my point. Like me saying we need to like be separate. I'm not saying like completely cut off everything, because technically we can't. As soon as we like people decide, oh, Africa's got its own currency and everything, we're gonna start a war. Like we're not equipped for that. So we're always gonna need like allies. But my thing is, if we have that unity, then it gives us leverage to negotiate what that new relationship is, and that's the key. Because we can't, like, the Gaddafi thing is really important, because like if he's starting to like get these African leaders together, let's create one new currency. One idiot among them, at least one, but several of them, the white people are going to get obviously hear that and be like, yo, I'll give you a separate deal with us, and you enjoy that relationship, and then you fuck everyone else over, right? Because we don't have that. There's not that idea of like, this is the goal we're going for. Yes, it's not like the best economic deal in the meantime, but what we're getting out of that is like it's a unity that we can leverage in the future for our kids, grandchildren. That's why when people say like, let's make the world better for our kids, I'm like, yeah.
Obviously I've never been to Africa, I don't know, but if all countries unite, there's no need for, we need the Americans for this and this, we need the Chinese for this and this, because the Chinese are already deep embedded like in Africa.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, you've already kind of traded your stuff for roads and blah blah blah. But I think Zimbabwe changed their whole currency to yen. So it's like, what you really need is all of them out, so you can really make the decisions yourself. Because once you start doing, we need them to do this, they already know that, so they're gonna prey on that.
Yo, I'm saying we can still do that. Like we can still, regardless of what deals are in place. We can still like basically rescind those deals and like start it all over again. What we need to do that is everyone coming together. Yeah, because if Zimbabwe by itself says, okay, fuck China, nah, China can fuck you all over again.
No, that's what I'm saying. It's like everyone needs to be.
Like that's what you need the unity. Like it needs to start from the unity.
Revolution.
Bit. Yeah, it needs to start from the unity bit with the revolution and all of that. I am with you right there. But to Anthony's point, the revolution and all of that separatist stuff, you can only do to a point, because once everybody comes together, then we need to recognize, okay, this is what the standard is for whatever we negotiate with these people. And then you can define a relationship based on that point. And that's it. Because we can't say realistically, once we cut off all ties, we're just going to cut off.
Would you say that Africa is free? Well, no, I can't say the whole Africa. But like, would you say, okay, I don't even know if it's a fair question, but would you say that a lot of those countries are free from the imperialism that they had before?
No. Obviously.
So what the key goal is to be free of that. Is to have none of that. Is to have full resources of whatever you have.
But think of
whatever you produce.
Think of who owns those resources. Say Nigeria, for example. The majority, like literally 90%, let's say, of like the people there will ideally want to be off of that. The problem is the people in power, and that's why there's so few people in power. The people in power are the ones who have those relationships.
Yeah, that's,
knock off those people.
Yeah, that's corruption, and that's something that's always been.
Like, but you're never going to end corruption totally. Yeah. But if enough of those people can recognize the importance of that unity bit, that's why I keep going back to that.
Yeah, but we're kind of saying the same thing. Exactly. But it's like it has to be willing to. Okay, I think the problem is that a lot of people are not willing, and this is not even about like African countries or whatever. A lot of people are not willing to go without, and what's needed in this is that people need to be willing to go without, and in order for that, for this war, revolution, whatever, that's what's going to have to happen, because nothing has been won. Nothing has been won with freedom without war, without fighting for it. So
the right people need to be willing to go without, because most people don't
not
have
even, not even because. Okay, put it that way. Who are these right people that you're saying?
Whoever is in power.
Because Obama was in power, man can do nothing. He done bits.
That's what I'm saying. Again, me saying power is not official post. I'm not
but that is still a position of power. Yeah. You cannot say that is not a position of power. But he was the leader of the free world.
Yeah, so let's say, for example, and I'm going to use, like, America is a bit hard to do because, like, you're talking about an advanced.
Okay, let's talk here.
Let's talk. I was going
Because I was going to say, like, with obviously the discussion we're having, how is this linking to, like, say, Britain, for example? Not saying that what you're saying is like, you know, I'm just trying to link it back to the UK because obviously it's all well and good, you know, that stuff.
What I think we should do is that they should tear down the Churchill one, the Churchill statue, whatever that is. Whatever the vandalism they did, it was not enough. They need to tear that down. Need to tear down these monuments because that is when they will really get the message. And and you know what? That is how you get these little small towns to understand what's going on.
Yeah.
Because it's like, rah, they took down Churchill, my guy.
Man,
and then you find out what happens, and then you see the protest. Okay, obviously they might still be like, oh, you know what?
Yeah, there's a danger of them doing the same flag thing to happening the first.
Yeah, but that's but then that just doubled down. Then I said, okay, that's calm. You're not going to convince everyone. There are racist people in the world. You're not going to convince them.
Brexit people.
You know what I mean? It is what it is. You know what I mean? You ain't got time. You ain't got
Do
time.
anything to them.
You ain't got time to be like. You know what I mean? At some point, you have to be like, alright, you're either here or you're not.
Yeah.
And it's like.
And then let's have the war and see who wins.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Because, like, for example, you know, obviously taking it back to like the 60s in America, civil rights. You know, the Montgomery bus boycott, where I can't think of what the reason for the protest, but basically all of the black people in the area stopped using like the buses for like over a year maybe. Like that kind of commitment to a cause for that long as well. People walking to work, like I can't imagine myself walking from where I live to Northwest London like every single day and back, like without obviously, you know, paying for taxis or obviously using a bus, etc. So do you think people in this country, or I'm going to say people with this country, do you think they have the mental fortitude or the capabilities to do things like that? Because I know people are too comfortable in the way that they're currently living that they're not going to be able to sacrifice even that, for example, you know, give up transport, you know, to ride a bike for a year, walk for a year, etc. And that's just for that specific. You know, you can link this to anything, any kind of protest that can be done for like a prolonged sort of amount of time. So do you think people can do that, or do you think that would be effective, or like in today's society?
It's definitely going to be effective, but I don't think people can.
I think in today's society, especially with recent things like that, and if you look back to the suffragettes, it's all good to have the people who are most affected to protest and get attraction by doing violent things, such as not looting, but protesting, getting their voices heard, and you know how the suffragettes did it. They chained themselves to the gates of, I think, Parliament. But the most important thing to getting change to happen is to educating people from that side, so the white youth. That's why you see a lot of people protesting now in America, because a lot of white youth people are educated now. They are beginning to educate. That's why the protests are a lot bigger than it was before.
A lot of it is just to cut it sounds like
a lot of it is to get clout and stuff, social media and stuff.
Is it? Are they like they're not really?
They're not fully educated, but they are getting.
But they're like they're kind of not within the culture, but they know of the culture in terms of music, TV, film. But
you compare that to the average white
NFL sport, like
Karen, the white Karen in Surrey, for example. she's not going to know anything.
I'm sorry, man.
Sorry.
You don't have to say white Karen, Karen.
A white woman or...
I don't want to name the kids Karen.
I think here though, like as you said with the whole bus thing, I'd 100% be on it. But a lot of people will not be on it.
Yeah.
It's like...
To be honest with you, I
would
love to do it.
Because... And I think the difference between here and America is that America have that spirit in them because it's constant. Like it's the same here, but it's not really, because it's not like the French. The French are always down for revolution. They're down for it. England after they won the war, they just chilled.
Yeah.
And then they called the Caribbean to come clean it up, and then 50 years later they said go home. So and then now, like really, really and truly, I thought after Grenfell there would have been a complete mad thing. But I think
that's what I thought.
But I think that was such a sad thing that it wasn't even like a.
This wasn't something
like it wasn't even the thing where people could think. But
I think because George Floyd was so graphic as well. Because you saw the full video and
you haven't seen it.
I ain't seen it.
Okay, I
ain't watching that. Right?
Yeah, I watched it.
Well, I've heard like everything about the Rodney King one. Apparently that was
I've seen that.
Because they physically like.
Just battens
and it was live, people could see it, but still.
I've never actually seen the Rodney King one.
See, I haven't seen the Rodney King, but I've seen photos of like what that kind of looks like.
I'd suggest it. It's graphic, but I'd suggest it because at the end of the day, you know, it's a bad thing, and you do need to watch it and understand what obviously happened from it. But yeah, I'd say it's graphic. I mean, obviously not comparing the two, but I felt like watching the George Floyd one was more sort of graphic and more obviously intense because you literally see him lose his life basically. But it's a crazy thing, and for it to be all over social media, I think is good to an extent, obviously because of the graphicness. But yeah, it's
another reason why I think it kind of blew up is because it's happened so many times.
Yeah,
it's given the white people to have so many excuses for those things, and those excuses were piled up. So if you notice, like someone like Charlamagne, for example, or like people on TV, like they know all the tricks. So if you like with the George Floyd thing, so people were saying like
context.
They're gonna say he had an underlying issue. Next thing you know, he had an underlying issue, and people already copped those kinds of tactics, and so that enraged people. That's like, yo, what kind of investigation are you running if I can tell you exactly what you're gonna find out? Like,
and
how credible is
people
that?
will say, what did he do beforehand? Or what is the
Exactly.
reason they've got him in this position? And it's like, a lot of time you can't just ask that question.
All of that combined with the
obviously
fact
it is
that people
important.
could see
Yeah.
what exactly. So it's not like the police could say, oh, you've restrained even though it didn't, and no one can dispute that. They could see what happened, but your report is something completely wild.
Did you see the actual report? Or did anyone read or hear about the actual report?
I heard about it.
Like, I heard about the report, but like there was loads of like mad inconsistencies. They were like, what was it, like he was resisting arrest.
Yeah, and detained and died because
yeah.
of the underlying health issue. And it's like, we've literally seen the video.
Like,
Like,
even the basic thing was like when he actually died, like with the emergency response team, they were like, oh, he died at the hospital. And then they changed it so he died on the way to the hospital. And then they were like, because people were calling them out on it, like this man was like, they were like, oh, he died at the scene.
Yeah.
And like, just assuming like people were in as outrage or this was like sometime before, people would just be like, same thing, yeah, those are what the authorities say, that's the official report, and like that's the way they can wiggle out of that. But because like it was viewed by so many people, and people they saw exactly when that man died, and then EMT is coming in and telling you, oh, he died in the hospital. Like even the way they lifted the body until that man was dead on the floor.
yeah.
Like,
And I think, I can't think of if it was, I don't think it was Shannon Sharp. I think it was Nick Wright. And he was saying, like, for years and years, obviously, black people will talk about police brutality and you know, obviously tell white people about it. And then their sort of go-to was, okay, where is it? Like, we're hearing these stories, like, you know, we're not seeing it. And obviously now in the social media age, everyone is seeing it. Like, it's getting shared everywhere, retweeted, etc. So I feel like, yeah, that is a good thing, obviously, to happen. But people will still make excuses. Like, you know, people are still adding things to it. And it's like, where do we get to a point where essentially they'll just start believing what they're seeing? Because, say, context, for example, they'll say, what's the context behind the video for the reason he's doing that? The reason could be because he's racist. And then they'll say that and they'll be like, oh no, he must have done something else. And it's like, why are you making the excuses for, like, we're clearly showing you, light as day, this is what's happening, etc. Why are you not just, you know, how is it not changing your mind? And it's a tough thing to know.
You don't need it to happen. What would have changed things? Because it's obviously you know, dramatic, but what would have changed things is Jay-Z was right. George Zimmerman should not have been like roaming around in the streets after that. What should have happened?
Do you know I found out the other day? Sorry.
Yeah.
No, not that. He auctioned the gun,
the bullets and
Guess how much that went for?
He went to gun shows, signing autographs.
$250K.
He should have got wigged.
Who was the nigga who bought the gun? Because other people were bidding because it was an auction. Like who were the people who like
forget that, because there's just, you know, there's underlying racist. But that would have set precedent. That would have set precedent.
Leave. Like,
and that's what I'm saying. After that, it's like, okay, this is yeah, but the energy has to be kept up, like, because we can't now wait for a next one. We can't now wait for a next one for everyone to be like, oh yeah, what legislation, what is that?
That was my issue with, you know, the Instagram blackout thing.
Yeah.
My issue with that is, I obviously, if you're going to do it, fair enough, but keep the same energy, please. That's all I wanted. I
heard you talk about.
I didn't actually post the blackout thing because I thought it's not going to make too much of a difference to me. But, you know, obviously I want to do things in different ways. Like I've signed petitions, etc. Like, you know, I share stuff that I think
useful.
like evoke sort of an emotion out of people and get them to think about these things, etc. I didn't think putting the black picture was like a good way, but some people do, fair enough. But if you're continuing to protest or you're continuing to fight for this movement, then my hat's off to you. But if you've posted that picture and you've gone to a protest and you've gone and asked some random Donny to go take a picture of you so you can get 10k likes, then just get out of here. Like, you're the problem, 100%.
No, but you see the thing is, you see the thing is about those people, they're playing with fire.
Yeah.
Once you're dealing with an issue that's that sensitive, and
For
you're
your own
around this
gain.
type of people, you do that around the wrong person,
Yeah.
then it's not the same. It's not the same. And and they're perfectly within their right to do whatever in it.
Oh yeah, and then there's that Drew Brees guy. What do you guys think about that?
Yeah, of course.
Drew Brees.
Yeah.
What, kind of hiding his kind of ignorance with the flag, which a lot of people do. They kind of sidetrack the argument of racism and kind of say, "Oh, well, you're disrespecting the flag," and that's what he was doing, kind of. And then he had to apologize on that by making a post. Personally, I think he's not only ignorant, but he should be better than that because he's in a position of leadership in New Orleans.
Yeah.
In the Saints.
Can I start with one question? Do you think that he, from now or whatever, his mindset will change, or will you feel that because of the shame and whatever, that he will just have to change as a person regardless, and it's not really him changing?
I think his approach to media questions like that will change.
Yeah, I don't think it's him changing because you just can't change that.
You don't change overnight.
Yeah.
For sure. And that experience for him is definitely education for him.
Is it education?
Yes, because you think about the backlash.
That's
I guess the core is: do you think Drew Brees is a bad guy as in racist, like deep down?
But we have to look at the
or
context of the
stupid?
question asked as well. I believe they were asking in reference to the flag. Like,
No.
What
The question was, given the protests given everything that's going on right now, and linking that to like what kind of protest do you expect, given like the kneeling? Would you expect to see more of that, given everything that's going on? Like basically, they were saying like the NFL has been involved in protests and people taking a knee.
Yeah.
Given everything that's going on, do you expect to see more of the same? Because we're all kind of related to kneeling and everything.
And to be fair to him, he was kind of answering the question because to him, he must see kneeling as disrespect, right? This is his point of view, right?
Yeah, but it's
But he wasn't asked about Black Lives Matter
no, but it's
or
still
anything like
protest.
that.
Once you know what it's about, like you know
See,
what it's about.
this is where like what you're saying, right? Just he was answering the question.
Yeah.
Like, he wasn't.
No.
He brought
If
a
you,
completely
if you listen to the question and
Right.
how it was built and his answer directly after that, he wasn't, because the first words, and this is like it was burned in my brain the first time I heard it. The first words
So
he said
never
was,
I will never.
"I will never
Yeah.
respect anyone." And what he said it so far. I will never.
Straight-faced.
Yeah, straight.
I actually haven't seen
like,
it,
but
he was
no,
like,
it's-
it was like, "I will never respect anyone, or I will never agree with anyone who's disrespecting the flag."
And then he went
Protest everything that's going on. And they said everything that's going on now,
you know what's funny?
and he knew all of that.
He went on, and I hate when people do this. He went on some like long anecdote about his grandfathers to try and explain his point.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And
About
it's like-
fighting the war.
Yeah,
Like,
and it's
like
like,
black
bruh.
people that have grandfathers.
That's
who
why
fight in the war.
Malcolm Jenkins was on his response. Like Malcolm Jenkins was like, he was in tears. He was like, you're like this is white people think they're the only, like their ancestors are the only ones that fought in the war. He was like, my grandfathers fought, but your one came back and they gave them affordable housing. They can own, like they gave them everything that helped you become like raised as well as
This
you.
is started like redlining black
Exactly.
properties. And
Like my grandfather came back and he couldn't go on a bus. He couldn't wear his uniform. He couldn't do all of this.
Couldn't
We
get
fought the
back
same
then.
war. And the thing that usually gets me is a lot of the time, those black people use as cannon fodder because they put them in the thick of it. And so not
Like,
saying all of it, not
front
saying
line, like,
exactly, not
yeah,
saying
yeah.
every white person didn't contribute. Like, because when they say like you measuring people's contributions to like the war effort, it's not
The war effort was even fuckery when you find out they were sending young, like
exactly. It's not
16-year-olds
equal.
to
So
Vietnam.
if to Drew Brees' point, the black people's grandparents and grandfathers sacrificed more than your freaking grandfather because
So-
he most likely benefited from like the positions of where he
Yeah.
fought from,
So-
what he did.
Do you think his comments or his viewpoint based on his comments, do you think he's racist or do you think he's patriotic?
It's not even
Nah.
patriotic. It's like there's a whole debate on like patriotism and nationalism.
Nah,
But-
so is he racist then?
personally, I don't think he's racist, but
Racist tendencies.
Honestly, I was thinking the same thing. I was like, I don't think it's racist. I just think he's like willfully ignorant. But like Anubis was saying, like if you're actively avoiding information, or like, and again, he's smart enough to know exactly what he was doing. Like they asked you about a specific thing, and
Like, it's not like he was like that 21-year-old who sent that text. He's
And
not a
it's
young
like
guy.
black people.
Exactly,
He's
not
a
young
big guy,
Like this is a
grown
man
man,
who knows everything.
playing
And
with
he's-
black guys.
And the reason why a lot of people are hesitant to call him racist is because of the respect he has, the nations, all of that. And I'm over here thinking, yo, you can do all of that for clout.
You can still
I'm
do
not
all of
actually
that and be
like-
racist.
This is what I'm saying about when people are donating to charity, because they will keep bringing up,
Exactly.
yeah, he did all this stuff after New Orleans. It's just like, okay, cool. But if these same people from New Orleans want to start protesting and start kneeling, he's going to be like, what?
And you can be, he's in the public eye. He can't obviously be overtly racist in the public eye. And
This is
he
why
can
I'm-
be
this is why
racist
my
behind
question
closed doors.
For me is a bit of a.
It's difficult.
I'm not as quick to defend. Is he not a racist? As
Yeah.
you were. Like,
I
I'm
can't,
just
you know
like-
what it is?
I can't overtly call him one, but I can't say he's
for me,
not.
I can say the intention makes that moment racist. And that moment is attached to you.
Definitely.
So therefore,
Okay.
I'm not saying, no, you know what? I'm also not saying people can't change, but then it's also, if you change, then acknowledge that you changed because people wrecked you. And, you
It's
fucked
like,
up.
on that, it's like, what are you guys' opinions on companies, businesses, Instagram pages, Twitter pages,
All
things
they're
like
doing
that?
is all they're doing is trying to go PR.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
That's all it is.
how do you differentiate the ones who are being genuine and the ones who aren't?
I see the actions.
Well, the difference would be the actions. There you go.
Yeah.
Like,
But then
outside
you
of the actions, all you're doing is just like
Yeah.
press control.
Like, you know
But
what?
even then, though, for example, like someone, I can't remember where it was, but someone had a donation. They're doing like a big old donation. I can't think of how much it is. It might have even been Jordan. No, maybe something else anyway.
Jordan's one was like 100 over 10 years.
Yeah,
100 mil.
or ones that are doing like that.
Yeah.
Let's look at like percentages of what they make or percentages of what they like, what they're worth.
Yeah.
Like they're doing that gesture, and people are like, yeah, that's what we need. That's what we need.
See,
Is that really what we need?
I'm not
Is that
going to do
really
that
cool?
because like if you're giving something, there's no like
No,
there's
okay.
no incumbents on like how much you give or whatever.
Yeah.
I think it's what cause are you giving it to? How serious is
Yeah,
that
no, that's what I'm
cause?
saying,
Are
though,
you
so
legit
yeah.
actually giving
That's
X
what I'm saying.
amount
So
of money?
because this guy's giving 50 mil to someone, they
Yeah.
might be giving it to this like a stupid charity who's not going to do anything with
Exactly.
it, where the CEO's taking
Yeah.
like 40% of it or something. Like, I don't know,
Exactly.
but that's what I'm saying. Like,
even the flip side is, and the more sinister side is the one I'll talk about in the sense of, yeah, you're giving to the good ones. You're giving to the people who you know are doing good, and you as this person give to that. We see it in films all the time. We see it like what's his name? Kingpin's donating to this charity, blah blah blah. Meanwhile, he's trying to wreck.
just so we can have
You know what I
protection,
mean? Like, and it's like, Kingpin, the humanitarian, blah blah blah. blah.
Yeah.
It's like,
it's PR, isn't it?
you know what I mean?
It's actually this is what they do with presidential campaigns. Like you see, like Disney supports the Trump campaign, but also they'll, like another branch of Disney will give it to Biden's campaign. So it's like they're basically assuring, like I'm not involved in this, but whoever wins, I want to make sure I'm in the good graces. I can't tell who's going to win, so I'll just give both sides.
I have a mixed opinion on it because, like, as much as there are many companies who are like donating to actual causes, some of them are just doing posts. So, like, I think a lot of them are just like virtue signaling.
Yeah.
And as much as I despise that, I also have to acknowledge that because of their huge platforms,
They're still doing something.
they're still bringing awareness to it. Like, even if you're the person who's putting the post is like deeply racist, the people the customers of their products will be like, oh, okay, maybe this is what they really think. Like, maybe let me investigate it a little bit more.
Because like, say you're a celebrity, yeah, and you've not posted anything, and like this has happened to celebrities. That's why I'm saying it. But Twitter is gunning you down because you've not said anything, you've not spoken out, said anything, etc. You say something now, you put out a post, you do some goodwill gesture, yeah. Then Twitter comes for you again because they're saying you were forced to do it. How do you win?
Like, see, that's yourself as a person. You have to be able to deal with that level of like.
I know, but it's like setting them up to fail. Like,
no, it's like
how long?
You know, because it's like you know in yourself how you do something.
And then say
If you
okay,
respond
so
appropriately the first time, you don't
Cause-
okay, but say you've already donated now, and people are still calling out saying you could do more.
I'll
Like,
just tell them go suck yourself, innit? Like, that's it.
worry.
Like, what?
Yeah.
And this is another part of the problem is because the perception is like there's this hive mentality on Twitter where it's like companies feel like if they have any kind of social media criticism, they feel like they have to cave to that.
I mean, that's the only reason why people are like actually doing stuff now.
Exactly. People feel like they need to cave to that, and that's why like companies who just be like, "This is what I've done. This is what I like. This is why like if Charles Barkley was a company, I support that man. Whatever.
Oh yeah.
Because like he will like say what he needs to say, right or wrong. He'll be like, "I'm doubling down, and this is why I'm doubling down. Go fuck yourself." Like, and again, it's like this. Companies, I think, and the best companies, I think, are the ones that pick like a red line and then just go with it, regardless. Because when the again, fair enough, they were like you would say the right side of this. Nike, for example, with the whole Kaepernick thing. What they did, hardline, they supported Kaepernick, gave him the deal.
See, that's action. That's action.
That's action. Yeah, that's
what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. They're on the right side
Mm.
of that because companies like Donald Trump went after Nike. Like people were like, "Oh, we're not going to buy Nike stuff." They took that line and they were like,
and that's a war because Nike were willing to lose, but they knew that they had the people with Kaepernick, and that is just essentially the root cause of everything that needs to be
I
happening.
think more companies like again, even if you support the wrong side, pick that side and let's fight it out.
I think. Did anyone see? Obviously, not everyone. Well, I guess it's just you that doesn't really follow football, but recently, obviously with football teams and stuff like going through. Discussing like exactly what's going on, posting and stuff, and Arsenal posted about Black Lives Matter.
Yeah.
But then a lot of Twitter was up in arms because a few months ago or maybe sometime last year, Mesut Ozil basically spoke out about the Muslims that were being treated badly in China, and Arsenal specifically said that we do not involve ourselves in political matters, and now they're doing Black Lives Matter and all them, and it's like
that's a perfect example because if Arsenal would just keep their mouth shut and like stick to their policies, they can at least say we've got integrity. Whereas like we don't do that.
It's because of all the financial backing from like a place like China.
Yeah,
like, the same thing with like Daryl Morey and the NBA. Like if like especially because Black Lives Matter, I think people feel like they have a lot more freedom to express themselves because there's no like Africa's not going to be like I'm just going to pull out my funds. Like if you don't say anything, you don't get money. So like
and maybe they think that Black Lives Matter is not gonna not necessarily amount to anything, but maybe they view it as we'll just support this until it blows over, and then we're not gonna have to think about it again, which is crazy when you think about it. But obviously, history has shown that is what happened. So
but like that's why like I respect the balls that China has because like. Wrong or right, whatever the policy is, they will stay.
No.
like,
you know what? Because then you say that, and then you look at their internal problems. You look at how because they cut off their country 25 years, no trade, nowhere. They were like, we're here, China, this is us. And then they had the whole one-child policy, and then they had the whole disparity of age. Now we've got bare old people, now we've got bare young people.
Like this
and
is also, I'm not saying they're right all the time. I'm saying whatever gun they choose, they stick to that.
No, but I'm saying, and also now they have. No, but they don't. They clearly don't because they changed. Because they have 2-child policy. So it's like they created all this kind of fuckery where you have all these guys. You're like the percentage is mad because obviously they only want the guys to blah blah blah. And then now you've got all this kind of disparity in the country that's over 1 point I don't know how many billion.
Yeah.
So and you have all this, and then you have the whole Hong Kong fuckery. Like
no, what I mean when I say like they choose to stick with it, like it's not like. Basically, what I'm saying is whatever policy they have at that time, right? More, and again, it's not all of China, but the majority of them stick to that. Now, whatever happens, that gives them like they gather enough results and they can see, okay, we need to continue with this or leave. Again, they all pivot, and that's what I mean because like now you said it, like they have the whole age problem and everything else. They switch. But
they've always had that historically.
But this is my point. That's what I'm saying. Like I respect that.
That's what I'm saying.
Everyone makes a decision, and then
but they've always had it. Like they've always like from when they cut off, they've always had it. It's like it's not like whatever dynasty was kind of there during that time.
Yeah.
A lot of it you can kind of like they kind of still kind of not.
Yeah, but they lost that though.
No, but they kind of. Because they even still man's called General Mao or something like that, or Emperor Mao or something like that. So it's like it's they still kind of hype it in that way. Whereas like there ain't no Romans no more. There ain't none of them man there.
Yeah, but this is like
Americans.
There's a period of time. So with the whole Roman thing, like ancient Rome, there's like a whole debate on whether or not like Rome and China actually interacted as far as civilizations go. But with the UK, China lost that.
Mm.
And the point where they had the whole like
Yeah,
thing
they didn't have the
fought
ships
back,
and things. Yeah.
The point where they like realized that,
Yeah.
got the national identity together, fought back, got rid of that, and then went digging for their own shit and then hyped that up. But like it's not like this monolithic thing that where they always had and they never lost. That's why I think they can do the same thing because they definitely lost that.
But they also knew. They knew their resource. They knew what they knew their levels in it. They were not like the Nazis and tried to accomplish everywhere. They were like, all right, you know what? We ain't got these type of shits. You know, American, that's cool. You lot over there. We'll just make sure this is ours and blah 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 blah.
That's what people need to do. Figure out your own shit.
No, but you know what needs to do? The system needs to be either erased or disrupted so much that there is forced change. Because at the end of the day, you're still at that mercy of the person who's in charge and at that person who has that decision to be like, how am I feeling today? Am I feeling that Black Lives Matter or am I not? Like, that's basically what it is. Because if they haven't done it now, why is this?
So for all our like radical sort of ideas, right? I don't think what I propose should happen is ever gonna happen. For as much as I want it to. That's why I think you're right? So the whole protest and like disrupt the system to the point where it's almost not a system. To a point where you can basically rebuild, because that's our only hope, quite frankly, is rebuilding whatever systems there are, but having enough of a sort of like remodeling, so to speak, and then build that up. Because if you're talking, let's radicalize, do the whole thing where Africans come together or like black people come together, quite frankly, it might happen, it might not. Because
we do all of that, and then there's religion comes into play. Then gender comes into play. Then sexuality comes into play, which is a big one, little one.
So it might as well just remodel the current house.
But that's what I'm saying. It's like
that's why I think you're right.
You have to get these things out here, man. Yeah, push it down.
Oh, that's one. Just because you said it, what is everyone's opinions on the use of the word nigger? So whether that's in like social context, whether that's people using it amongst each other.
So if you're asking me personally,
I'm asking you personally, man.
I don't give a shit about like that word.
To what extent? To what extent do you not give a shit?
So to the extent is the reason why that word is so like toxic is the intent behind it. What drives that?
Yeah.
People are smart enough to know when that's in operation and when it's not. But the problem is you're never going to get some kind of like universal appeal on that because no one's ever going to agree on like what's the
like, you know what it is? There's one rule. If you're white, don't say it. It's that simple. And also, if you're black, sometimes you don't say it to random people.
Yeah.
If you don't know the person, sometimes some people ain't feeling that way.
But what about people who's obviously to your point, people who use it in music?
If you're black, then yeah.
Like,
but then you're expecting people to use it.
But also, you need to have that message of, I'm using it, but only we can use it.
Yeah.
Like what Kendrick did.
Do you think people should just scrap the word altogether?
Nah, because you scrap the word, we'll still say it.
You legit can't.
You're
fighting against people.
See, look at that. We can't even have a word then.
Yeah.
We can't even have a word. And it's like, we have to just take the whole thing down and then
so that's what I said with like I don't care is kind of like it doesn't bother me. Like even if someone uses it in the wrong sense to me, like the only reason you get a reaction out of me is if you're physically trying to come at me while you're saying that. Then I'm not even beating you up for saying it. I'm just beating you up because you're trying to get at me.
because obviously there's
like if you're just saying it like I'm like whatever you're saying doesn't have any effect on me. Like it's like Shannon Sharp says this all the time. Like almost like when I was a kid, like people used to tease him and call him names. It was like go to his mom and his mom would say, "What did you answer to?" I know what they called you, but what did you answer to? Like if you just ignore these idiots, then it's like
even then that's
I get it. Like not everyone is the same.
Have you ever been in that situation where you've been called one?
Yeah.
By a white guy?
Yeah.
You have?
But like in uni, it happened like. But I was.
How did you react?
Literally, not. I just like it didn't happen. Like in my brain, like not like it didn't happen or I didn't know it happened, but I didn't give him any satisfaction of a reaction.
You see, like, and there's also a problem in not that, but in the non-reaction. Obviously, we're damned if we do, we're damned if we don't.
Exactly, I get it.
But also, I also feel like whatever happens there, retaliation has to happen because they've done it thinking, I'm gonna say it and nothing's gonna happen. It's like, like what was it today or yesterday? There was a guy in full. No, Yeah, there was a guy that was just chanting White Lives Matter at the Black Lives Matter protest.
Oh, you got that.
Fucked him up, bro. That's what needs to happen. That's what needs to happen. That's what needs to happen. Precedent set. And you know what it is? There's so many people at the protest that people aren't going to get arrested like that.
Yeah.
Like, they'll get detained there, but they won't happen.
Yeah.
He needs to get fucked up there and then. And that sets a precedent because now what's going to happen? More people might come down now. Groups of 5, groups of 7,
The thing is, like, I'm in the middle at the moment because I used to, like, probably, like, you know, not even too long ago, like, even a couple of weeks ago, if that, I was of the opinion that, you know, it's our word, why should we not use it, etc., etc. But really, looking into the word and obviously what it represents, and obviously, you know, it's been used in popular culture by obviously black people now to, you know, make the word not mean as much as it does. But it's got so much history behind it, and there's obviously so much controversy. Like you said, you know, don't let white people say it, but you can't police a word. Like, realistically, there's not enough people that care to, like, police it. So I think really it's not something we should be still using, or we should think of it, or there should be a different word. Because
okay, that's what I was about.
Yeah, because then we've still got a word.
No, we don't say nigger, and then they call us monkeys all over again. They start remixing other stuff. So it's like, and then we'll have to try and reclaim that and da. So it's like, no, I mean, personally,
the reason why I don't think you're ever gonna get black people to let that word go is because
I don't think black people will let it go.
Like chitlins, for example, like giving us the worst part of the pig, but then we'll like cook that shit up, wrap it up in bacon or whatever. It's like we recycle shit. Because that's all we've got to recycle, shit. And so when we actually do that, don't come and take, like, it's the whole gentrification thing. Like, if the hood is not good, and, like, people get street cred from being in the hood, of course, like, gentrify Harlem, and then some white person can say, well, I'm from Harlem. And then you get some kind of credibility off of that. Like, that's the shit. It's like, if you've damaged something and you've given it to me, I've recycled it and made it passable. Yeah. Don't come over here and try to take that from me again. Like, you're just insulting my...
I'd rather see less slave films than, like, more of this like discussion about N-word, because it's like if all we're seeing is just like that orientation of film, and in the sense of like you don't really see, even in Django, it was like you had to get through like 200 niggas to get to the end and all of that type of shit, and it's like you don't get that what's it called, retaliation that is really what we want and what happened. Then like you get suffer.
Oh, you're talking about,
and then at the end of it, you get some kind of peace.
About in the slave, like
and it's just the and I know obviously that's what happened, but it's like.
But then you got people like Nat Turner, like the slave rebellions and things like that. We don't see stuff like that.
And there's very different stories. Like even like I ain't seen one big film about Marcus Garvey. I ain't seen one big film about Precious Police Mumba. I've obviously seen Denzel Washington and Malcolm X. I need to see that again. But it's like. There should be, I don't know what idea what's going to happen, but there should be more emphasis on the positive aspect in wider culture.
Yeah.
It's good that,
and not just from black, because obviously a lot of us, we just do what works. Comedy works a lot. The Tyler Perry vibe works a lot.
But even like what maybe films on like in America, like the abolition of slavery, like so in terms of like the process, obviously there's the Lincoln film, I think, obviously because he abolished it, but like we need more about the good side. It's not always just graphics.
Where's our Stranger Things? We ain't got no Stranger Things.
We've got Ariel. Economic black Ariel. They were just repurposing like old white characters.
That's what I'm saying. It's like where is our Lord of the Rings? Where is our Goonies?